Sooner fans, Longhorn Nation, welcome to episode 51 of the Bevo Podcast, the only podcast exclusively dedicated to covering the greatest rivalry in college football, the University of Oklahoma and the University of Texas. I'm here with my man, Kevin Miller. I'm John Whitson. It is Thursday night, March 23rd. Kevin and I are 30 minutes delayed from when we wanted to originally start recording because we both were watching the best game to date in the NCAA tournament, K-State versus Michigan State. I want to lead with this, Kevin, before we lead with anything else. Okay? We're going to talk about this game. It has nothing to do with OU Texas. I don't care. We're going to talk about it because it was so good. But in the stands was Mateen Cleaves sitting next to Isaiah Thomas. Did you see this picture of these two dudes?
I did not see that. I must have missed that.
These dudes are sitting next to each other, okay? Mateen Cleaves beat Oklahoma in an Elite Eight game when they had
– Was it the Nahara team?
When they had Eduardo Nahara. So it's like 04-05, I think, if my math's right. So that puts him like younger than me.
Earlier than that, I think.
Okay, but not that much earlier. Either way, young. Anyway, either way, Mateen Cleaves is younger than I am, and I think he's probably even younger than you are. You're 35, 36?
No, I'm 39. I'll be 40.
Oh, my God. Are you really that old?
I am.
Golly, there's a little insight into Kevin Miller's life. I didn't realize he was that old. Holy crap. Okay. My point is, it doesn't matter. The guy's like 35 years old, okay? Right? He can't be older than that, can he?
I think he's older than that.
Okay. We're making this too difficult. He's between 35 and 40 years old. He looks like you and I. He is sitting next to Isaiah Thomas, who won the national championship with Indiana in 1981. Okay? Isaiah Thomas, who won 3 NBA titles with the Detroit Pistons. Okay? Famously left off of the Dream Team in 1992 because nobody liked him. I say all that to say Isaiah Thomas looks 20 years younger than Mateen Cleaves. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Isaiah Thomas looks like he could roll out today and go get 30 against the Lakers.
Yeah, man. You got to love that Isaiah Thomas, man. He was a legend. He's a legend, man.
He was dude, apparently he was a weird dude. I mean, right? Apparently he was a weird guy because nobody liked him or whatever. And then he's like owned some teams and been the coach of some teams. It just hasn't worked out for him.
Remember the bad boys, right? He was the baddest of them all. He seemed like everybody thought he was a nice guy, but he was really the catalyst behind all that dirty stuff they used to do.
He was the worst.
Yeah, he was the worst one. Even worse than Lambeer.
Yeah, I absolutely loved Isaiah Thomas.
Underrated dynasty, though, the Detroit Pistons from the late 80s, early 90s. They won 2 titles, but I think they played in the finals 3 times.
Oh, is that it? You're right. You're probably right.
Yeah.
You're probably right. Yeah. And they should have won. They should have won that first one that they played against the Lakers. I thought they were the better team that year. That would have been 88 maybe. Anyway, it was just
Isaiah hurt his ankle and he scored like 30 points in the quarter or something crazy like that.
He scored 21 in the third quarter.
Something like that, yeah.
I think maybe more. Shots all over the place, limping around. Speaking of hurt ankles, good segue. Speaking of hurt ankles, Noel for Kansas State goes down on his ankle at the beginning of the second half. The guy has been playing out of his mind. He comes back in a Willis Reed, Larry Bird, Isaiah Thomas-like fashion and just wills his team to victory. Dude had 19 assists to set an all-time NCAA tournament record, Kevin. And here's what the crazy part about those assists were, and you correct me if I'm wrong. Any single one of those passes that he made in this game, especially the ones down the stretch in the second half, could have been the best pass I've seen all year in the NCAA.
Yeah, I mean, he's just dropping dimes in between 3 defenders. It was incredible. It was old school point guard play.
Exactly right. Old school point guard play. He was throwing lobs. He's throwing bounce passes. He's throwing hard passes to his guys are cutting for him. Everything that you want him to do. And it was a thing of beauty. You're absolutely right. And not only that, but he was going to the basket strong. Listen, K-State and Michigan State, correct me if I'm wrong, best game of the tournament so far.
It's as good as I've seen so far, that's for sure. And for Michigan State to force overtime, I thought they did a really good job. But man, that last play when they had a chance to try to tie it, and I saw 3 guys with open looks, and none of them took the shot. They just pump faked and passed to the next guy.
Listen, that's exactly what you texted me before we started recording. Is that they all kind of got a little gun shy, which is crazy because prior to that, dudes were pulling it from all over the place for both teams.
Yeah, let it fly.
And that was the crazy thing about K-State. They just kept pulling it. Like they had dudes that were, 5 feet behind the 3-point line. Oh, we don't care. This is NCAA. We're just going to pull. I love the passion of an NCAA tournament game. I love the intensity. It can't be replicated in the regular season.
No.
The only thing that I've seen that replicates it is finals basketball, NBA finals basketball. It gets ramped up to a whole nother level.
Uh-huh.
But it is just this game in particular, guys. Oh, it was just so much fun. And to maybe get to the point of what our podcast is actually about, which is Oklahoma and Texas, the Texas Longhorns are still getting to feel a little bit about that intensity, and they're going to feel a lot more of it tomorrow night at 8:45 against Xavier in Kansas City. Kevin, are you fired up about the Sweet 16 matchup against Xavier?
Yeah, man, I can't wait. 15 years for Texas since they've even been to the Sweet 16, 2008. So it's great to be back, still playing relevant basketball this late in the season. And it's going to be a tough game, but I think they can beat Xavier.
So I did my research on the game. The Longhorns are holding opponents to 36% field goal percentage and 26% 3-point field goal percentage in the tournament in postseason play. They're favored by 4.5 points against Xavier. However, Xavier is the 11th best scoring team in the nation, averaging 81.2 points per game. It's basically good on good. It is good on good. Texas is one of the best defensive teams in the country, and Xavier's one of the best offensive teams in the country. And it's going to come down to, which one can outplay the other at what they're really good at. And
correct. Yeah,
I think Texas is. I think you're staring straight at a matchup against Houston here in a couple days. I really, really do.
Man, I hope so. It would just be a great matchup, a chance to go back to the Final Four for the first time in 20 years, man. So, man, I'm looking forward to it. At this point, my hope was that they would at least make the Sweet 16, and they did that. So at this point, I'm just enjoying it all. And let's go.
Apparently Xavier is expecting to rebound the ball better than you guys. Apparently they're a very, very good rebounding team. And then you also have to look at the matchup of coaches. So Sean Miller is a tournament veteran, right? Just a ton of games, been to the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight a number of times. Has he been to the Final Four?
I think he has. Was he the coach when they had Derek Williams? Remember that year? And they beat Duke?
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't remember if he had been to the Final Four or not, but tons of experience going against Rodney Terry, who's just continues to impress for Texas.
Yeah. He's forcing Chris Del Conte's hand, right? We talked about this on the last podcast about Texas maybe wanting to go out and get a kind of a big name splash hire. If he goes to the Final Four, you have to give him the job. He has to become the head coach. So
I was reading articles.
To him, man.
I was reading articles today though where other schools are showing interest in him.
I heard about that. The Penn State coach left to become the Notre Dame coach, apparently, hearing that they're looking at him. And also there was another school, Cal Berkeley, I heard was interested too. So, hey. it sounds like he's going to be all right. You know, this has really been a blessing in disguise for him. He's been a head coach before. He was a head coach at UTEP when Texas hired him. He left being a head coach to be an assistant coach at Texas.
Now, was he also an assistant coach in between his two head coaching jobs at Texas? Is this his second stint at Texas as an assistant coach?
He was under Rick Barnes' staff. Yeah, he was on Rick Barnes' staff in the mid-2000s.
Rick Barnes about to play here. They're going to tip off here in about 20 minutes.
You know, they've had their issues. Rick Barnes has certainly had his issues coaching in the tournament, but I like him. It's great to see him taking Tennessee this deep. So we'll see. You know, the FAU deal has been quite the story. But Tennessee handles their business, you know, back in the Elite Eight. So good for them.
Okay. Texas, 4.5-point favorite. Cover, win. What do you think?
Both.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Texas is just I think defense means even more in the tournament than it does any other time of the year. And you know, if you can really make the other team uncomfortable, and Texas is used to playing uncomfortable in the Big 12. I mean, every game is this kind of dogfight. And I just don't think Xavier's seen that same level of competition throughout the season. I mean, I think Xavier's a good team, but I feel good. I feel good about the teams that are left in the Big 12. Like what I just saw from K-State, if K-State had any other jersey on there, if they had Kentucky or North Carolina or Duke or any other color jersey on there but K-State, you'd be like, man, this team's unbelievable. I think they're getting knocked down because they've been beaten up in the Big 12 and they've got K-State on their jersey.
No, I agree. I mean, and what their coach has done this year, it's been an incredible job by him, Coach Chang, as a long-term assistant under Baylor, under Coach Drew at Baylor. Gets his job, but he's got him in the Elite Eight. I believe this is his first year.
I think it's going to be great.
Pretty crazy.
All right,
stuff,
Texas.
Man. Yeah.
Texas fan, enjoy the Sweet 16. I will be rooting for Xavier, but hopefully, for Kevin's sake, y'all get the win. Shifting to the NFL, the most hated player in Texas Longhorn history, or the person that Texas Longhorn fans hate the most, according to Kevin Miller, is the one and only Baker Mayfield. He has signed a 1-year contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And my question for you, Kevin, is A, is it going to work out for Baker? And B, is this his last chance as an NFL starter?
Well, to answer your second part, I think it is his last opportunity as an NFL starter. I think it has a chance to work. It has a chance to work. The weapons are there, right? I don't know what the system is going to look like, right? Because they got rid of Byron Leftwich, the offensive coordinator, after the season, right? I'm not sure who the new OC is. Do you?
No, I don't. But I guess what makes me nervous, Kevin, is Tampa Bay has a complete lack of a running game. I mean, they couldn't run the ball last year with Tom Brady. I mean, with defenses expecting Tom Brady to throw it 40 times a game, they couldn't run the ball against it. So that just makes me nervous because when Baker was really good was when he had Nick Chubb in the backfield and was really able to go hard on play action. You know what I'm saying? Now, I will say this, as far as weapons goes, I think Mike Evans is still one of the best weapons in the league.
I agree. Yeah, completely agree. Chris Godwin's really good too.
Yeah, and so to have the receivers, I think is a positive for him. And Evans has rescued quarterbacks his entire career, right? He won Johnny Manziel's Heisman Trophy.
He played a big part in that. He did.
I don't even think it's debatable. I mean, some of those balls that Manziel would throw up were caught by Evans. Yeah, that were had no business being caught. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, okay, so they signed a new offensive coordinator, a guy named Dave Canales. He was Seattle's quarterbacks coach last year. And I guess he
was good with
because of the Geno Smith thing.
Yeah.
He had a great season. Not a good season, a great season. So we'll see. We'll see what his philosophies are and how much of an emphasis he puts on running the ball. Right? Maybe the draft is coming up. You can bring in some running backs, shore up the offensive line, get a good running game in to set up that play action. The thing about it with Baker Mayfield is, even though it doesn't work out for him, at multiple stops now, he still has the stigma of being the number one pick, right? He was still the number one pick. So teams are still going to believe in your talent. You're going to get a lot of chances. His biggest problem is going to be, he's not rocking the boat, right? Just making sure he's a good teammate and everything, and a good leader. Staying a little quiet and just getting the job done.
I just think that narrative, especially in the NFL, is so overblown. I don't think he creates the drama that people want to say he creates. I don't think he's as immature as people say he is. All he did was take a team that hadn't won a game in 2 years, got him to 500 in his first year, and got him a playoff win against the Steelers on the road in his second year.
True.
And then his third year, he plays hurt the second half of the year and is actually punished for playing hurt. People didn't like, they said he should have shut it down. Well, A, he's got a coach. B, he's got trainers. C, he's got general managers. Anybody on the Cleveland Browns organization chose to shut him down. They all thought he should have played too, but instead of getting the credit of, look at this guy, sucking it up for his team and trying to do what it takes to win, instead it's like, well, why did he play hurt? If he's being selfish for playing hurt. Have you ever heard of somebody saying?
No, that's but stupid. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Yeah.
But they did say it though, right? Like, I'm not making that up.
Yeah. No.
And
what
so
do you think it is? Why hasn't it worked out for him? Right? Like,
well, I think the Browns are. I think the Browns are a stupid organization. I really do.
No doubt about that.
I just don't think they could handle. I think they got a taste of one playoff win. I mean, look, dude, they signed Deshaun Watson, who has an identical record to Baker Mayfield. The records are identical. He's got one playoff. I think he has one playoff win. That's it.
Yeah,
that's all you've got from Deshaun Watson.
The Deshaun Watson contract is the worst contract in the history of the NFL for a guy who hadn't played in the better part of 2 seasons, and to give him $230 million guaranteed. I mean, look, he did not look very good last year, right?
No.
I know it's Cleveland and they didn't have a lot of weapons, but it was a fully guaranteed contract for a guy, again, that hadn't played in 2 years.
Well, and that's my point. And so, I as an OU fan, I sound like a homer, like I'm making excuses for Baker Mayfield and all of this and all that. I think the guy is a pretty good player. I'm nervous about what he's going to do at Tampa Bay. I mean, he's on his 4th or 5th coordinator, whatever it is, number of whatevers. Tampa Bay is not the same team they were with Brady even 2 years ago. Last year, you could see the deficiencies. The only reason they made the playoffs was Tom Brady and a very, very weak NFC South. So I don't know. I hope he does good. I'm rooting for him, but I think he gets a bad rap. I just don't think it's we've talked about this before. The comparisons to Manziel are just unfair. Manziel had like mental breakdowns.
Yeah, Manziel, that's different. That's not warranted at all. That's not warranted at all.
And when he comes in and he makes people like Baker, you see it on the sidelines. Odell Beckham Jr. doesn't like Baker. Okay, well, Odell Beckham doesn't like anybody on any given day. You know what I mean? Like, he goes and wins that game for the Rams, and everybody is like in love with him, like he's their favorite dude ever. I don't know. It's so weird to me. He's such a lightning rod, but I'm rooting for him.
He's going to be the starting quarterback, right? I mean, he is going to be the starter. Kyle Trask, I just don't see Kyle Trask being ready to go yet. He's a kid from Florida. He's going to be in his 3rd year. I don't see Trask being ready to go.
Threw 3 interceptions in the first half against Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl. So anyway, I'm rooting for Baker. I know Texas fan is equally rooting just as hard for Baker. You're probably rooting as hard for Baker as I am for the Longhorns tomorrow night. It's probably the same level of enthusiasm see that
I'm
success.
not rooting for him to fail, though. I will say that,
No, but you don't represent every Texas fan. That's been well established.
But here's the thing. But I'm not saying I'm necessarily rooting for him to succeed either. But I'm not like, I hope Baker Mayfield career ends and he goes down as the biggest bust in NFL history. It's not that. It ain't that serious.
I don't even think he can go down as the biggest bust. I think what he did at Cleveland should hold a lot of water. Okay.
Yeah.
One last thing on Baker.
It's just weird that it didn't last.
No, it's not weird because it's Cleveland.
As a franchise, though, just feels
so
like
bad.
Somehow you can make that work.
So I'm at the Valspar Championship this past week in Tampa. Okay, so the Valspar Championship is the golf. You're welcome. And I just had regular general admission tickets, though. I wish I could say anything. But anyway, we're there, and this girl comes up with an OU polo on, golf polo. And I said Boomer. She responded appropriately sooner. And we got to talking, and I said, hey, while you're here in Tampa, are you getting the Buccaneers hat for Baker? And she's like, my daughters were there, but she had no regard for them. She was like, not only no, but hell no. I'm not getting that beeping hat because I'm a Cowboys fan, and that's all I'll wear. So what do you think about that?
I ain't got no problem with it, man. Some loyalties lie deep.
Man, dude, this girl had an OU shirt on, though. An OU shirt on in Florida. And I thought for sure she was going to be like, oh, yeah, I hope he does great. No, she did not care. An OU fan was like
and I'm sure she wishes him well, but she's like, wearing a Bucks gear. Well, it's weird how you guys all became Browns fans a few years ago. I thought it was a little odd. I didn't become a Titans fan when Vince Young got drafted there. I mean, I rooted for him to do well.
But you had a team. You've got a team. You're a Cowboys fan.
True.
Right?
I don't have teams.
I can't speak for everybody. I will, we've talked about this. I will cheer for the Cowboys. They're on all the time. It's hard not to you find yourself sucked into the Cowboys and wanting them to do well, but it's like, it doesn't ruin my day. I don't,
it doesn't,
whatever.
Yeah.
I don't care that much about it, but I like Baker Mayfield. So yes, I wanted them to do really well. I was a Viking fan. Are you talking? When Adrian Peterson went to the Vikings, I was all about the Vikings, dude.
I just didn't. And again, I lived here now when Baker Mayfield went to the NFL. I didn't live here when Adrian Peterson got drafted in 2007. But yeah, it just seems like, man, I just saw Brown stuff everywhere, more than I've seen for any other player in the NFL.
Oh, it was definitely more than even Adrian Peterson. But I was I bought my son, Vikings gear and jerseys and stuff. And then I was a Baker fan. And then I was a Tom Brady fan when he moved. We talked about this already. We don't need to go into this, but I tend to root in the NFL. I root for players. Like, they're professionals. They're going to move around. I don't get too attached. I get excited. So yeah, that's it. I think that's okay, especially when you're in Oklahoma and you don't have it.
Oh yeah. I'm not bashing you for it.
You're right.
One team jump on, another team, NFL team, because of the player. But that just shows how much you guys love that dude.
Oh,
you just love that dude more than anybody else. Even more than Sam Bradford. Now, I don't think anybody could replace him. I felt you guys loved him more than any player that, maybe the fact that he's local too, I think has a lot to do with it when it came to Sam Bradford.
Oh yeah,
but I mean, Baker his popularity is 3 times as much as Bradford was. I've never seen anything like it.
I know. I love Baker Mayfield. I wish he still had eligibility. Before we start talking about spring ball, Kevin, because that's what we're really here for on the Boomer Bevo podcast. A little bit of college football in the middle of March.
It's always football season.
It's also tornado season, apparently, in Oklahoma. And when people get hit by tornadoes, they need to call Brown O'Haver, 405-735-5510. I work for Brown O'Haver. Kevin works for Brown O'Haver. We are public insurance adjusters. We work for the insured, not the insurance company. We've signed a number of clients from the most recent tornadoes. But if you're still out there and you're having trouble with your insurance company, we signed another tornado client yesterday. Not yesterday, today, this morning. So we're still signing up clients. So but we're also still doling out advice. So if somebody out there just needs some advice, wants to talk some things through, give us a call, 405-735-5510. I do want to shout out probably our favorite client right now, Kevin. Is it Courtney Keck? Is she our favorite client right now?
Yeah, I mean, she's cool with us name dropping her on the podcast.
I just did it. I hope she is. Hey, listen.
Yeah.
The reason I think she's cool with it is because she called up the radio station and gave Brad O'Haver a shout out. And I just want to say, Courtney, thank you for the shout out on the radio. And now we are giving you a shout out on the Boomer Bevo podcast. So there you go.
Yes, we appreciate the love.
We appreciate.
She knew who I was though when we did her contest.
She didn't know that she was like amidst a star, an influencer. That blows my mind.
Yeah.
But well, now she knows. Now she knows who you are. So that's fantastic. Oklahoma spring ball storylines. Kevin, here's the deal. Brent Venables was interviewed. He knows that 6-7 was unacceptable last year. He also knows that the majority of that failure lands on the feet of the defense. I would say 75-25 is at defensively falling apart in the fourth quarter, losing 1-point games, scoring enough points to win, not counting the Texas game. And he responded this week in one of his press availabilities during spring practice with this statement. This is Brent Venables. I expect us to be on another planet defensively. Kevin, does Texas fan, or in particular you, Kevin Miller, do you expect Oklahoma to be on another planet defensively?
I don't know about another planet, but yeah, I expect them to be better. Yeah, you guys are going to be better.
It's
really difficult.
We've talked about this though. So we're losing Deshaun White, who I thought was a very good inside linebacker. We're losing Agwebu.
I think he's a bigger loss than Deshaun White personally. I thought Agwebu was really good last year.
He could be.
Yeah.
We're losing. But D White played that
the cheetah.
Everybody loves the cheetah position. Apparently, he played it really well. I mean, we still went 6-7, so I don't know how well anybody played anything, but apparently he played it really well. I think this is a loss. So I'm looking at Colden. We talked about CJ Colden and how nice it would have been if he'd stayed.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we're losing Jalen Redmond. So we're losing those 4 productive players. Is the growth of the players that were backing them up, the addition of Bothroyd, Lacey, McCullough, and Pearson in the transfer portal, and then the expected high play of Stutzman, Bauman, and Washington, is that enough to get us into I think Oklahoma needs to be ranked in the top 25 in defense because their talent.
You could do that.
Their schedule's not any good.
But I think you can. Listen, McCullough, he's a freak athlete out there on the edge, right? We talked about him before. He was a guy who was probably going to go to Ohio State. His dad just happened to be on the coaching staff at Indiana. That's the only reason he was there. If not, he would have been at Ohio State or a big-time school like that, right? Now you get him. He's going to be eager to learn. And this is, of course, granted that these guys pick up the system and stay healthy. Stutzman, I thought, was really good last year. He's only going to be better with his second year in the defense, right? I think the biggest question for OU is the defensive line, right? And I hear, from some of the local guys that they're hyping up the D-line to be great. So if these guys can step up and be the players that their talent warrants, I think you'll see an improvement. And look, it takes time to adjust to a new system. We saw that with Texas with Pete Kwiatkowski the first year. I mean, they looked horrible out there.
But y'all
in the 100s.
But what'd you end up ranked? Top 30?
Yeah, right around 30.
Yeah.
Massive improvement from one year to the next. So I see no reason why the same thing can't happen for OU. And again, Billy Bowman being back, we know what he's about with his range back there. Well, Reggie Pearson, if he starts, we know all of the physical presence that he brings.
Well, and we can't forget about, I know they're going to be true freshmen, and you rarely get contributions from true freshmen, but I think Bowen and Adibare have an opportunity to make an instant impact. I really do. I think those are dudes that could play right away.
And Anabari is a special athlete. Again, we've talked about him multiple times since he committed. I've been a fan of this guy. So I think he's a guy who can just, he'll make some mistakes because he's a true freshman. But, I hope, at least, if I'm an OU fan, I hope they just let him loose. Hey, man, go get the quarterback.
Article in the Longhorn Wire broke down the position groups for the Sooners. So your one of your blogs or whatever broke down the position groups for the Sooners in spring ball. One thing of note was that they thought Danny Stutzman needed to gain 20 pounds. Is that something that Texas fan thinks, that Stutzman is too skinny?
No, what's he about? About 230, 235?
I think that dude is plenty big. I think he's plenty big.
Great size. No, I think he's right where he needs to be. Yeah.
Is that just?
I think he's a great player.
Yeah, I think Stutzman.
I thought he showed a lot as a freshman. Right, he flashed. I mean, and they were relying on him in big moments. In the Red River comeback you guys had a couple years ago, out in the fourth quarter, he's out there making plays defensively as a true freshman. Last year, he led the team in tackles. I think he's one of the top tackles in the conference. So, no, I think he's going to have a great season. And I think his size, I don't think he needs to gain 20 pounds. This is not 2000 where your inside linebackers were 250.
Your concern is defensive line. My concern is still the secondary. And that's with Billy Bowman, who I think is our best player on defense. Can Woody Washington be the corner that we've wanted him to be, or we think he should be for the last 3 years? And then who fills the other corner spot? And then does Bowen break into the starting lineup? And if he does, is that a good thing because he's so good? Or is it kind of like with Texas's offensive line last year? It's like, yes, we're excited that a true freshman can start, but it's a little concerning that a true freshman starting on the offensive line at Texas, right? I mean, it's kind of the same thing in the defensive backfield. Yeah. It's like, and so I just think it's the back end, because you're right. You've added McCullough. You've added some of these guys. You've added some big defensive linemen out of on the transfer portal. And so I don't know, man. I agree with you. I think we're better. As far as Another Planet goes, I think Another Planet is a top 10 defense, and I don't think they're there yet.
Yeah, I don't think the elite talent is there that you need, because you think about his defense is at Clemson, right? And he's a great coach, and he had them ready to go on defense when he was their coordinator. But, man, they had dudes. I mean, they had dudes at every level, but especially on that defensive line. I mean, they were just loaded with five-star guys. I mean, they had 3 guys who went in the first round from the same defensive line.
Yeah.
So this is unbelievable amounts of talent. And I will say, though, you guys are recruiting that way. Anabari is a 5-star. You got some guys who are likely going to commit in this class who are high 4-star, 5-star guys. So you're building that. I just don't know if you have it this year.
How's Oklahoma doing right now in 2024, though?
I think recruiting has been a little bit slow so far, but I know you're in it for a lot of the top guys.
So we've got no results. Do we have nobody signed right now on 24/7? Is that how that works?
You may not have anybody committed yet. Let's see, 24 class. It's early though, right? No, I don't think.
Listen. Hey, this podcast in particular was absolutely apoplectic at the beginning of June that we were going to be a terrible recruiting team and that we hadn't signed anybody, and then we ended up with the number 4 class.
That was you. Yeah, that was you.
And I tried to talk you off the ledge. I tried to talk you off the ledge, Kevin. I tried to tell you that we were going to be fine. Just trust BV and trust the process on the recruiting trail. But no, you wanted to just bash. Whatever. We're I know we've got a lot of crystal balls out. It's a little early for me to get too fired up about recruiting just because we know all the ups and downs that go with. So I don't want to get too much into that. Texas spring ball. How close were we to playing the Texas?
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Offense at all? Are we talking about OU's offense at all?
Go ahead. I got excited about the defense, but go ahead. I will entertain.
You should.
I will entertain offensive questions at this time. Go ahead.
Okay. Are you concerned at all about the wide receiver position?
No.
Not at all.
No. Listen, dude. Guys, just go. I mean, it's just the wide receiver position. It's the easiest position on the field, and I'm not worried about it. Yes.
How do you figure that?
Dude, you don't have to pass protect. You don't have to read anything. All you're simply doing is run your route, turn, and catch the ball. It's just that. That's all we got. I think between Farouk being a really good player, I think he's going to be our number one receiver. I think you've got a possession receiver in Drake Stoops, who's coming back, which last podcast I was in doubt whether he was coming back, but it is true. He is coming back. Stogner's the safety blanket. And then from what I understand, we're counting on the guy from Michigan to take the top off. So we've now addressed the receiving position in all kind of four phases: a number one receiver, a possession receiver, a safety blanket, somebody to take the top off. And this is still not even addressing some of those recruits that we had last year. We're not even talking about Petaway or Nick Harris or any of those guys. So I think that the wide receiver position is going to be just fine. Not worried about it at all. Are you worried about it? Should I be worried about it?
I'd be a little concerned.
Oh,
a little bit.
What's your worry? What's your worry?
No, I mean, my thing is when you lose a guy, you know how I felt about Marvin Mims as a player.
Dude,
I just think he was unreal. 4.340 in the combine. I think he's going to be a really good NFL guy. It's just like Texas, right? Let me flip this. Just like with Texas, right? We talked about we lose Bijan and Roschon Johnson. Do we have great players behind them? Really talented guys? Yeah, but when you lose a guy like that, it just leaves you with a little bit of concern. That's all I'm saying. Kevin, not panic, just a little concern.
Are you comparing the impact Marvin Mims had on the field to the impact Bijan Robinson had on the field?
No, but what I'm saying is when you lose the guy who's the best guy on your team at a certain position, I thought he was your best receiver by a wide margin. Even though you have talented players, it's just a little concern, hoping someone steps up.
I've been very clear.
It's a question mark.
I've been very clear about Marvin Mims on this podcast. I wish he would have stayed. I think it would have helped his draft stock. I definitely think it would have helped the team. However, he had a number of drops in the offensive game that affected the outcome of games and led to us having a 6-7 record. Yes, he ran a 4.3. Yes, he was a dynamic player. He wasn't a great player. He was not the level of great at Oklahoma is Ryan Broyles and Sterling Shepard and CeeDee Lamb and Hollywood Brown. And it took me 4 of those dudes before I even got to D.D. Westbrook, who run a Biletnikoff, okay? And Mark Clayton, and the list goes on. Those are great receivers, okay? Would you agree with that? I think you have to agree. Absolutely. Those are great receivers.
Of course.
Marvin Mims hasn't even we're not even thinking about him yet. Yes, he ran a 4.3, okay? And I really, really hope he's really good in the NFL. But he had too many drops, so I'm not sitting here going, oh my God, we're going to suck without him. Yeah, I almost cussed. Yes, no joke, he had some drops. And so it was frustrating. If that's our best player, then we better get different players. If that's the best player at the position, we needed somebody different because Oklahoma has to be better at that position. Now, did any of the guys I just named, are those going to take the place? Are those going to be in the echelon of what I listed out as receivers? I'm not sure though that guy's on our roster right now. Okay. I agree with that.
Do you have anybody that can be as good as him?
Yeah.
Who do you think that would be?
You asked me this last time, and I had a hard time with it because there's so many out there, and I just don't know the names as well as I should.
What are you hearing about? Why you look for that? What are you hearing about Jackson Arnold so far in spring practice? I know it's only the first week, but I know the fan base is.
The fan base thinks he looks good, dude. The fan base thinks he looks good.
And how much of the fan base do you think wants him to be the guy starting this year?
I don't think we want him to be the guy. I don't think that there's a call for him to be the guy because I think we know Dylan Gabriel wasn't the problem.
Yeah. No, I agree
right?
with that.
Like
Yeah,
Dylan Gabriel played well enough. I said Nick Harris earlier. I meant Nick Anderson. Sorry, everybody out there listening.
I knew exactly who you meant. Yeah.
You have Jaden Gibson, Nick Anderson, Keon Brown, Jaquez Petaway, LV Bunkley Shelton, and then you got the kid out of is it Aiden something? Who's the kid out of Michigan?
Oh, the transfer.
Yeah. I mean, you got all those guys. No, I don't think somebody is on that team that's as good as Marvin Mims. But I think collectively as a group, they're going to be better than they were last year.
Okay.
And I actually don't think they were that bad last year. I think from a receiving standpoint, they were actually pretty good. I think you add Stogner. Braden Willis was great for us, but I think Stogner's a better route runner, and probably going to be a little bit
so
better.
You think he could have a better receiving season than Willis did?
I think so. I'm not saying he'll have as good a year because Braden Willis was on another level in terms of just his impact to the team. Like that team falls apart.
Yeah, versatility.
Yeah, leadership,
I thought he was versatile too.
Toughness. Mm-hmm. Yeah, all that stuff. So I'm not saying that, but I just think from a receiving standpoint. My point being, we do have to get better offensively. I mean, we have to have better receivers. But I think as a group, they're going to be better. I think if you keep in mind too that we had to promote our receiver coach because of what happened to Kel Gundy last summer. And now you've got the receiver coach out of Texas Tech. I kind of think that guy probably knows. Good recruiter, and I think he knows how to coach receivers. Is my guess.
Great recruiter. Great
coach
recruiter.
I'm good. Yeah. So I kind of feel like we're going to be fine. That's why I'm not worried about it.
Gotcha. All right, man.
And you got me on a rant. I didn't think I'd get that excited about this wide receiver conversation, you kind of got me going with it.
This is what we do. Yeah, let's go. This is what we do, man.
Oh my gosh! All right, when's y'all's spring game?
I think it's let's see. All right, Texas spring game, April 15th.
Does Sark roll out Arch Manning to start the spring game just to flip everybody's mind?
No.
Just to absolutely send everybody into a complete and total meltdown that Arch Manning could potentially start for Texas. That would be fantastic. It would be amazing.
It would turn college football on its head. It seriously would. But no, I don't think so, man. And just I feel the same way. The exact argument we just had about, or discussion we had about Dylan Gabriel and Jackson Arnold is exactly how I feel about Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning.
I don't agree with you, man. I think they're different situations. I think
he's got a year in the system, right? He was playing well before the injury.
2 games.
He was up and down.
2 games before the injury. How many games? It was like 2 games, a game and a half.
It was 3 games. He missed the majority of the Alabama game. He missed Texas Tech, I think West Virginia, and UTSA. Missed 4 games. It's a lot.
Yeah, I know. I meant that playing well before the injury. He played like.
Exactly.
I just meant he played one. I don't know that he played good or bad. I mean,
the thing about it is that it's what he was doing when he got hurt. It's how good he looked. 9 of 11 or whatever, 132 yards. And then he got hurt.
Listen, I think that is going to haunt. I think that first quarter at Alabama is going to haunt y'all for a while. I think that first quarter of Alabama is you understand the ceiling that is Quinn Ewers. Okay. Yeah. And it's high. As high as anybody in the country high. But we never saw that again. It never even came close, Kevin. It never even came close. And so it makes me wonder, was that a game plan situation? Was he just playing out of his mind? Or is he really that good? And I just don't know. I don't know that I can say he's really that good.
I'll tell you my answer to that. Is it a game plan thing? Absolutely. They've been working on the game plan since the summer. Right? Was he on fire that day? Yes. Is he that good? I don't know. We see his talent level. We see what he can be.
Always with
right?
the talent. Always with the talent. It's like if you have to say something about Quinn Ewers, the word talent and or talented has to be in the same sentence because it doesn't.
Your boy Baker Mayfield
because it never matches results. It never matches results. Why does you're talking about Baker Mayfield? Baker Mayfield was a true freshman at Texas Tech, and he went undefeated until he got hurt. Undefeated at Texas Tech. What are you talking about? Baker Mayfield has 3 college losses in his whole career.
I'm talking about right now. He keeps getting jobs because he has talent. He keeps getting jobs even though.
Are you suggesting that Quinn Ewers is going to be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft? That's what you're telling me now? No way. Come on.
I don't know. He's more talented than Baker Mayfield is.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people are more talented than Baker Mayfield. If that's an argument, I think I'm willing to entertain that.
Talent. Listen, that's what it's all about. That's why guys get jobs in the NFL. That's what it is.
Aren't you going to argue though, or couldn't the argument be made?
Anthony Richardson is going to be a first-round pick, despite you saw him on the field.
I know.
He could potentially be the number 1 pick in the draft this year.
And I disagree with that. I mean, I disagree with that.
I know you do, but I mean, this is from the minds of NFL scouts.
I know, but we see that in the NFL, right? I mean, like look at Carson Wentz. Like Carson Wentz is your big, strong. For every Kyle Allen, there's 5 Carson Wentzes that were supposed to be big and bad and good, and we're smart enough in the NFL to develop this talent and turn it in. And I mean, sometimes it just doesn't happen. But whatever.
I still have stock in Quinn Ewers, so let me just say that I still have stock in Quinn Ewers. I know a lot of people are out. A lot of Texas, trust me, a lot of Texas fans are out on Quinn Ewers, and they want to see Arch Manning go. I'm still a believer because, like I said, I believe in his talent, and I need to see him for a full season plan.
Okay.
Get some experience before I'm ready to say hand the keys to Arch Manning.
I hear you. I really do. And I'm not trying to be argumentative. What I'm saying is I think the situations are different. The games that Oklahoma lost weren't because of Dylan Gabriel. Okay? He didn't go in and throw interceptions and make bad decisions late in the game, things like that. And so and when he played really well, right? And so we saw that.
Yeah.
And we say to ourselves, okay, this guy's a 5-year starter, another year under the system, blah, blah, blah. And we think he's really, really good. And, whatever. We just need a defense to help back him up. But with Quinn, like there were games, Oklahoma State, where
TCU, he wasn't great either.
He's the reason you lost the game. He's the reason you lost games. He's the reason you couldn't beat some teams that you should have beaten. And I don't know. I guess that's my point is when you see that is what I think. That's the difference in the argument. And we're only talking, but I guess technically he's 2 years older than Arch. Is that, but not really, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
well, no, he's 1 year because he should have been a true freshman last year, age-wise. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. You know what I mean? Like, is that maturity level, yes, the talent, but talent for talent. I mean, aren't you putting Arch, if it's just talent for talent, up there with him?
I'm putting him up there with him, but not above him.
Okay. So if they're equally talented and we think that Arch is better in the film room, more disciplined, do we not want to go with that guy?
You know what? I think that 1 year, that one extra year in the system is really going to help Quinn this year. Yeah, knowing the system. And look, the season might roll out, and I could be dead wrong. But from what I'm hearing, and this is just what we're hearing, right? We hear what we hear. We won't know until they step out on the field. But that Quinn's been much more serious. I think the arrival of Arch Manning has maybe flipped the switch in this kid from a mental standpoint with his preparation. He's working with a private quarterback coach in addition to being coached by Sark, working on his mechanics. I think he's learned after last year that, hey, I can't just step on this is the first time in his life he just can't step on the field and be better than everybody because he can throw 40 yards off his back foot drifting away and drop it in the bucket.
Yeah.
Like, he knows that's not going to work at this level. Right? He can't
Yeah.
just live off that ability. So I'm still excited about the future with Quinn Ewers, and I'm really excited to have Arch, waiting to go after that. So that's where I'm at with the quarterbacks.
Running backs.
Okay, obviously, huge loss. Bijan, I mean, he's the best running back in the country, right? He's the best running back from a talent standpoint to come into the NFL, I think, since Saquon Barkley. So that's obviously a monumental loss. I think he may be too. Yeah, I think he has the ability to be better than Saquon Barkley. But he's one of those guys, as far as that, you could justify taking him in the top 10, despite, running back not having a long shelf life in the NFL. You could justify taking him in the top 10 in the draft. Then Roschon Johnson was the emotional leader of the entire football team, not just that. So you not only lose your best player, but then you use your second best running back and your team leader. So there is some concern there. I like the talent. Jonathan Brooks, third-year guy, Hattiesville, Texas. Really talented guy, has looked good when he has played. Just not a lot of experience. True freshman, 5-star CJ Baxter out of Florida. Hearing good things about him, too, so far. He's a bigger back, 6'1", like 215 pounds. Heard he looks good so far. So those will probably be the top two guys this year. But we'll see, right? I mean, Bijan can do everything. He was a receiver, too. He can run routes. He can make over-the-shoulder, one-handed catches. He can do everything. So it's going to be a huge loss. We'll see who can step up and be the guy. No one's going to be him, but who can be the guy that you rely on in those big moments, to get your first downs down the stretch. So that's my biggest question there.
I think the nice part for Texas is the interior of your offensive line, right? I mean, you're bringing those guys back, right? The two guards and the center, or is the center gone?
I mean, that's.
I knew you were bringing back the interior. I didn't realize you're bringing back the tackles too. I mean, that's huge, and to have that continuity, both in the passing, pass block game and run block game.
Yeah.
It's going to put y'all in an advantageous position offensively that I think is going to make is going to minimize the loss of Bijan, right? Is the return of that offensive line. Defensively, you made the strides last year. Now you got to replace. Where do you feel like the defense is middle of spring ball?
I've got some concerns about the edge, just like I did last year. They did a good job of getting pressure, right? The first year, they couldn't get pressure at all. I mean, quarterbacks were just able to just stand back there, survey the whole field, find an open receiver.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, about that last year. Well, last year, they were one of the top teams in the country at getting pressure, but they didn't have anybody who can finish. They didn't have anybody that got a lot of sacks. Their biggest sack leader was what's the kid's name? He's out of Louisiana. My mind is just completely blanking. Oh, Barron Sorrell. He had 5.5 sacks. He's back.
He had a really good game. He had a really good game against TCU, right? Am I thinking about?
Right. Yeah, he wrecked that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he wrecked their offensive line that game. They're hoping he can just be more consistent. Yeah. He shows those flashes of brilliance, and then sometimes he just disappears. They've got some young guys, right? Ethan Burke out of Westlake, Colton Vostick, who we stole from you guys, is out there as a young guy. So we'll see. That's really my biggest concern. And then also you lose a couple guys on the interior. Moro Ojimo and Keandre Coburn were really good last year, especially against stopping the run. You lose both of those guys. You bring Tavondre Sweat back, who had a great season also as a defensive tackle. You got Byron Murphy, who's been a good player. He's kind of been a rotational guy. He'll be a starter this year. At least he should be. So we'll see if he can step up and if they can just be more consistent. And they got to build some depth behind that, because that's what made them good last year. They were able to rotate 4 guys at the position. They've got Alfred Collins, who we all just keep waiting for. The guy just has unbelievable talent and length. as a D lineman, and he's just so inconsistent, man. So we're hoping that the switch finally flips for him, and he can be the player that his talent warrants. Because he looks like, at his best, he looks like a first-round pick as a defensive lineman. But man, he is kind of buried in the rotation because he just is incredibly inconsistent, I believe, with his efforts. So we're hoping he can step it up too.
I think the big thing for Texas, and we're going to talk a lot more about this over the summer when we start doing previews for the season and things like that. But the difference in schedule between what Oklahoma's playing and what Texas has is like night and day. You've got Alabama in the non-conference. Don't you have somebody else? I'm going to pull your schedule up right now. The Texas 24.
Yeah, we got Rice.
You've got
Alabama at Alabama, and then Wyoming comes to Austin. Then at Baylor, Kansas, and Austin.
We don't have to play Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we have to play Houston.
Yeah, we go to Houston too, which is going to be a very interesting game. It's after the Red River Shootout. We have a bye after that, then we play at Houston, October 21st.
Yeah, because we don't have our non-con is just terrible, right? Arkansas State, SMU, and Tulsa. It's laughable. And we don't have to play Baylor. We don't have to play TCU. K-State or Texas Tech. I don't know. I just think your schedule is daunting's not the right word, because I don't know how good the Big 12 is going to be able to say that. But I think you're going to play the tougher of the Big 12 teams, right?
Yeah, that at Houston game, BYU.
Oh, there it is. Yep. Yeah, having to play TCU, having to play Houston, having to play Baylor, having to play Tech. It's just tougher and trickier than because when I talk about us needing to be in the top 25, 30 in defense, when you look at our schedule, it's like, by God, after Arkansas State, SMU, and Tulsa, we better be ranked in the top 10 in defense. You know what I mean? It's just, we should be, because it's so bad.
Yeah, here's your schedule. You got Arkansas State and Norman, SMU in Norman, then at Tulsa, which I'm surprised you guys are playing at Tulsa. I don't know, it'll be a home game for you guys, but
they usually do at
Cincinnati. That game's tricky, man.
Oh, I think it's really tricky. Fickle's not there anymore, though, right? Didn't Fickle leave?
No, Fickle is gone. Yeah, and man, I don't remember who replaced him.
Yeah, so no Fickle. Iowa State, and of course Texas is going to be what it always is. But I don't know. I think y'all got the short end of the schedule stick, and we got to take advantage. And we have to take advantage of. Because here's the other thing: Oklahoma's going to get zero benefit of the doubt for the any kind of playoff or whatever consideration.
Yeah,
because that's just terrible. It's terrible. The schedule's awful. So I don't know.
Now, did you guys have something canceled on you that was supposed to? Because I just don't see Josie putting this schedule together without at least one Power 5 team.
Oh my gosh, am I losing my brain? Did we have LSU or Georgia?
Was it Georgia?
I want to say we had either LSU or Georgia on this schedule.
Okay.
And I think we replaced it with SMU or Tulsa once the SEC thing came out.
Makes sense.
I'm almost positive that's what it was. But anyway, Kevin, this was episode 51. I think it was pretty good, actually. I think anybody that way that you can work Mateen Cleaves and Isaiah Thomas into a Boomer Bevo podcast.
Quick, man. I got something on Mateen Cleaves. Isn't it kind of weird how sometimes with college basketball teams, I don't know if you've noticed this over the years, you have one guy who's a star player, but then a couple years later you realize that they're not the best player. Like Mateen Cleaves, they had Zach Randolph and Jason Richardson on that team. We were all talking about Mateen Cleaves.
I think college football is the same way. Look at the hated Florida Gators, right? I mean,
Okay.
Tim Tebow is the Mateen Cleaves of the 08 Florida Gators.
Yeah.
And Aaron Hernandez and Percy Harvin were, well, especially Aaron Hernandez, clearly better football players. Like, it's not even close.
Percy Harvin was unreal, man.
Unreal.
I think
unreal.
Like, they used him pretty good, but I thought they could have got a little bit more out of him even at Florida. He was just that talented.
Yeah, and then the same thing with like with Oklahoma. If you think about that same year, you think of Sam Bradford and how good. I mean, won a Heisman Trophy. Yet at the same time, looking back on it, you had Trent Williams on that team.
Yeah, Gerald McCoy.
You had Gerald McCoy on that team. Yeah. I mean, it's like, okay,
dudes, man.
The guys that get the accolades or the attention, to your point, aren't always. I didn't like Mateen Cleaves. He's that cheesy kind of dude. Kind of reminds you of like Magic Johnson.
Goofy. Yeah,
kind of goofy, kind of cheesy. Always smiling, and it's like, oh, yeah. And then you always saw Magic in the stands cheering for him, and that always bugged me. It was like, oh my god. So.
Well, you were a Celtics. Of course, he knocked. Is that why?
First of all, I'm a Celtics guy. Second of all, they knocked us out. Third of all, I've never really been an Izzo guy. Izzo always looks exasperated on the sideline. Izzo's always, he's always face always looks upset and twisted, and somebody screwed him over and kicked his dog. I don't know. So yeah, no, I don't like Mateen Cleaves. And you look old. Mateen Cleaves, you look old. Isaiah, Zeke, you look fantastic, dude. You look fantastic.
I think Mateen Cleaves may be older than you think.
Bad boys for life. No way, dude. Come on, man. He was with Nahara.
Nahara was like 99.
It doesn't matter. Huh?
What, 99? What year were you born?
78.
Mateen Cleaves was born in 77.
No, he wasn't.
Yes. He was in the 2000 draft.
Oh, how is that even possible? That's not possible. Oh my god! How did I miss this?
Time flies.
It was not. Oh my gosh! Am I
Michigan State?
Well, okay. All I'm saying is that's fine. Whatever. I can't believe that. I cannot believe I'm.
But he's an old 45.
Listen, dude. He was 4 years old when Isaiah Thomas won it. No, because he won it as a sophomore. He was 2 years old when Isaiah Thomas won a national championship.
Yeah.
No, 4 years old because he won in 81. 4 years old when Isaiah Thomas won a national. That's all I'm saying. Isaiah's got 20 years on him and he still looks amazing.
Are you going to see the movie Air? Have you seen the trailer for it?
No, what's the movie?
Matt Damon, Ben Affleck.
Yes, of course I am. Of course I am.
It looks good, man. It looks good.
Well, listen, dude. Ever since their work on Good Will Hunting, I've been big fans. Big fans. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
The Town. Speaking of, also a great movie, Ben Affleck.
The Town is very good. Ben Affleck just gets a rough. He's had some movies that are so bad, that he just gets knocked down.
He had a rough patch. He did.
Yes, but when he hits the sweet spot of the movie, what basketball movie was he in? It wasn't too bad. He was the coach. Whatever. He ends up getting in trouble. It was fine. It was a good movie.
I remember that. I didn't see it, but I don't know. I know what you're talking
about. For other people out there, though, who are looking for a movie to watch this weekend, The Champions with Woody Harrelson, where he has to serve community service, and he's a G League coach. He gets in trouble, has to do community service, and coaches a team of mentally handicapped adults. Okay. Kevin, it is fantastic. It is so good. So good. I can't even tell you. And if you think it sounds like a feel-good movie that you can take your kids to, Don't make that mistake because I did, and the amount of sexual innuendo is overwhelming. And after the film, I had to apologize to my daughters. I said, "Thank you for going to watch the movie. I'm sure you enjoyed it. I apologize for the sex talk and the innuendos."
For real. Don't tell mom.
But no, Alice was with me. I was in trouble. Don't worry. I was in trouble, but it was good, man. Woody Harrelson, though, White Men Can't Jump. Listen, not the best basketball of any movie because neither Woody Harrelson or Wesley Snipes were actually great. Basketball players, but still a really good movie. A really good movie.
Yeah. Great time.
When he says I'll take the chump, it's so good, dude. It's so good.
Yes.
Oh, dude, listen, I can go on. Sports movies is my thing. I could go on all day, but we've only been here for an hour.
Well, listen, man, we're not even in the dog.
Great show.
Yet, so we'll have plenty of time to talk about great sports movies. We'll do an episode exclusively dedicated to it.
Well, we're going to need a couple because I can go all day. Kevin, great night. Enjoy your ball game tomorrow. Boomer.
Took him.